Standing on the existing protocol, I would like to appreciate the Postgraduate School for this opportunity once again. When I say we, I mean myself and Professor Tawo Edun, that has authored this presentation on academic integrity. And we are going to be taking off from where our mommy stopped in respect of literature search and how we must apply academic integrity to all our academic endeavors. So let's start with what it's all about in terms of the meaning of academic integrity. All right. It is actually considered as a moral code of the academia, and it involves the commitment that we put into 5 fundamental values: honesty, trust, fairness, respect, and responsibility. Some of them, our mommy spoke about them. Academic integrity talks about the very person that we are. It actually has to do with that. Because if we are people that are not really focused on our own personal integrity, it will be very difficult for us to apply it to our academic endeavors. All right, all members of academic community anyway are expected to be committed to these values that I've mentioned: honesty, trust, fairness, respect, and responsibility, as we continue to conduct our academic endeavors. If we fail to do all this, then we have the opposite of it being called different names, including academic misconduct, academic malpractice, academic dishonesty, academic fraud, academic corruption. In some crimes, these things are actually crimes that people are prosecuted for. I will go deep into it. Our mommy actually started from there, where you steal somebody's work or you plagiarize. So we'll get there. Let's move on. All right. Why is it important for us to mind academic integrity? Why is it something of importance? Of course, very recently in our world today, or let me say academic world, we know that there are lots of temptations. When I say temptations, I mean there are a lot of factors that expect you to even cheat or commit academic fraud. And we just have to do all we can to avoid all these temptations. Mentioning a few of them, we know about the artificial intelligence and the products that comes from that, the softwares that will make you to cheat effortlessly. So, like I said, it's all about who you are as a person. Whether you are going to actually stand firm and say you are not going to partake in all the wave of cheating that are going on all around the world. If you go onto the internet, you can easily buy projects, completed ones, right now, without you writing any project. If you go on the internet, you can pay some sources to write the project for you. All these are issues that bother on our academic integrity. So it's all about who you are as a person and how you act when it matters. Nobody has ever promised us that our academic work, PhD, and the rest of it are just a piece of cake or a bed of roses. All you need to just do is to enroll, and before you know it, close your eyes, open, and you already have your degree. Nobody promised that. You have to go through some rigors. It is actually to be able to process you to become a better person in the future. And when you actually engage in academic integrity, you are denying yourself of the opportunity to improve on yourself. You are denying yourself of the opportunity to learn and to be a better person, because you have to actually prove the kind of scholar you are in the future, whether you like it or not, especially as you continue to succeed. But if you do not succeed, honestly, then people will raise questions about the degree you claim to have. A doctor that cannot probably do what one thing or the other. All right, good academic work is underpinned by honesty, as it has been said. Cheating means that you could miss important professional knowledge, like I said, and practice that you need to succeed in your future career. So if you can, you avoid cheating. An important component of academic integrity for doctoral students is integrity in the research process. And that is exactly why I'm going to focus so much on research, although we could have academic integrity issue on other aspects of our learning and all that, but we are going to focus more on research because, like I said earlier, we are at a time when there's a lot of temptations for people to actually engage in academic fraud, commit corruption, and the likes. So if you are able within this very time to navigate through your academic process without engaging in any form of cheating, it's a very huge plus. All right, people doing the research are expected to exhibit a high level of personal and academic integrity and honesty as they engage in scholarly discourse and research. There are ethical principles involved in conducting researches, and the questions we have to actually ask ourselves is that whatever we are doing, is it fair? Is it respectful, honest, reporting findings responsibly and also honestly? I will give us details about how to go about this. Scholars draw inspiration from the work of others, and our mommy said so much about that already. The fact is that when you want to start your research, if you have a project topic or a concept that you want to further dig, you go to the literature. The literature are supposed to give you a lot of resources regarding what you want to study. And if you have consulted literature widely, by the time you start writing, you start using people's ideas. By the time you wanted to start, you may not have any idea about that thing except the interest that you have in it. So the interest will drive you to the literature and you start searching. You get people's work. When you want to start writing, the first thing that must come to your mind is that it is your responsibility to acknowledge the ideas, the knowledge you have gotten from your literature search exercise. But by the time you start writing without citing appropriate authors to give them credit for what they have written, which you have gleaned from, then you are actually breaching academic integrity. All right, so these are some of the things that we do, all right, while we are actually browsing the internet for literature. We draw inspirations, like I said. Now, this work of others, in the process of doing it, we claim and we make claims, and of course, we have to reference other people's work. We extract evidence from the world or from earlier scholarly works. When you engage in all these activities, it's vital for you to credit properly the source of your claims and evidence, or evidence. Failing to do so violate one's responsibility as a scholar. We have three types of academic of research misconduct. Basically, we have plagiarism that our mommy spoke about. Then there's also falsification that students are usually guilty of, and fabrications as well. Falsification basically is about you claiming or trying to manipulate your results or your findings. Things that have not really evolved from your study, you are trying to claim that it evolved from your study. It may not really be you stealing somebody's work, but you are also telling a lie. It's also something that borders on academic integrity. And fabrication is also very common, among students. Sometimes you just do a questionnaire for 100 people and you claim they are for 1,000 people. Science students probably claim to have actually done a research in the laboratory that they have not actually done, or they try to exaggerate. All these are wrong. But I'm going to lay emphasis or more emphasis on plagiarism. Now, plagiarism refers to presenting someone else's work, published work, or the one that is not even published, as your own without appropriate attribution. It includes buying, like I said earlier, that some people can easily buy work from the internet right now, stealing, borrowing, or obtaining all or part of a particular paper. Hiring someone to write a paper for you is also plagiarism. The person may have actually done an original work, but as long as you are the one using it and you didn't actually author it, it is still plagiarism. Copying or paraphrasing another source without proper citation or falsification of citation. Building on the ideas of another without citation. Now, I want to lay emphasis on the paraphrasing. A lot of people believe that once they paraphrase, it becomes theirs. That is not true. What is important when you are paraphrasing, of course, you are expected to paraphrase anyway. If you are not paraphrasing, you have to put a quotation mark to indicate that you are actually taking the words of the author are holy. But when you get something from someone, you paraphrase in your own words, but the idea remains the same. The idea that you have gotten from someone remains the same. For example, we have cholera outbreak in Lagos. If somebody probably states the cause of the cholera, or okay, in Lagos and some other states now, if somebody is stating the cause of the cholera, you are not using his words, but that cause that the person have stated or established is what you are trying to bring out. Then that is his idea. You have to give him credit for it. So the fact that you are not using his exact word doesn't mean that, or you are paraphrased, doesn't mean that it has become yours. The fact is that you are still getting an idea about the cause of cholera from someone else, and that person deserves your citation. Plagiarism can be divided into two. We have intentional and unintentional plagiarism. Quickly, intentional plagiarism is when you purposely want to use other people's work and you want to claim it as yours, which is very common. But the one that is unintentional, we also commit it a lot. That is when we do not cite appropriately. For example, some people will start writing without citing as they write. By the time they have ended, they will have forgotten the author that is responsible for a particular idea. Then they will start apportioning what OOU 2016 has said or written to I know 2022. That is unintentional plagiarism. You are not giving the right citation as that particular case is. Or you may forget to actually cite as well. So the best practice is for you to continue to cite as you continue to write, so that you don't get to forget. Sometimes you probably cite, but you don't put the reference as you cite. And by the time you want to now write the reference, you don't remember the source of that particular person's citation. I mean, that particular person's material. And because of that, you now bring someone else to be the owner of that statement, because it's a factual statement that you cannot make without citing. So you now bring someone else in. All those errors or unintentional plagiarism occurs when we don't cite accordingly as we continue to write. And that is one practice we have to imbibe, to continue to cite as we write. The best way to avoid plagiarism is to understand what it is. And that is why we are still going to talk more about plagiarism, so that we have better understanding of what it's all about. Then we must avoid committing either accidental or intentional plagiarism. Like I said, both of them are still plagiarism anyway, whether we did it intentionally or without our true intention. Accidental plagiarism usually occurs when we do not understand the cultural conventions of academic writing and citations, and that is the purpose of this seminar, for us to be able to get to learn more about the cultural conventions. Providing doctoral students, that is how to avoid plagiarism now. Providing doctoral students with training components related to academic integrity in research. The university has really been magnanimous to do this by giving us this opportunity for us to be able to know what it means to plagiarize, what it means to actually breach academic integrity, so that if we now decide to continue doing that, it is now by our choice. Like I said, there's a lot of temptations out there, but if you want to be a very strong scholar, a scholar of repute, you must be the person that is able to avoid all these temptations and stand up. Our mommy talked about patience. There's no way you can be a good scholar without having that, because by the time you are reading other people's work, you gain the knowledge. But if you are in a hurry and you are looking for shortcut, there's no way you would not breach academic integrity. It's not possible. Once you are in a hurry, you want to. In fact, let me just be emphatic about this, that it is one of the reasons why our works are usually returned from all these reputable journals abroad. Because by the time they are reading your work, they'll be able to tell whether you're a good scholar or not. It's just like some of you that are lecturers. When you are reading student scripts, you should be able to tell the kind of person the student is, or she is. Because whatever that the person is writing will, one way or the other, give you an impression of the personality of the student. Whether it's a student that is intelligent, student that have read, that even attended class, and the rest of it. Some of us are able to dictate those that have not been attending classes by reading their script. The same thing applies to our work when we send it abroad. By the time you start making factual statements in your introduction without citing or citations, the reviewer, the editor will know definitely that you are not I don't want to use the word good scholar, but you are not the kind of scholar that have actually done the due process in terms of writing, because you cannot be making statements that are statements of fact or scientific knowledge. There's a difference between common knowledge and scientific knowledge. The common knowledge is what is known to all. COVID-19, for example, part of it was actually scientific knowledge in the past, but right now everybody knows it. You can easily write about the fact that virus causes COVID-19. It can be contracted when you are close in contact with somebody that has it, and the rest of all those things you may not cite because it is common knowledge. But by the time you want to make statement, for example, like pregnant women are immune to COVID-19, that is new. You cannot make such a statement and leave it hanging without you citing the source. Now, let me tell you at this point that even if you are the one that have conducted a study that probably found out that pregnant women do not actually contract COVID-19, you must put your own citation there, because that statement cannot go without citation. And by the time a reviewer is putting source, parentheses, putting source inside your work, is inadvertently telling you that you are stealing. Once you start getting source, you're making statement, and the person reviewing your work or that has reviewed your work is asking for sources, he's not going to say it, because in the academia we have to be very polite, but that is like telling you that this is not yours. So indicate who that particular statement is from. That means that you have actually been doing something that is wrong already. So those are some of the things that makes all this, some of these editors are not very patient. By the time they see that you are not writing the way a scientific scholar should write, then they will just return your work. Some will be polite enough or probably magnanimous or generous enough to send it back to you to do the right thing. So you don't even need to put some work on that, through Turnitin for them to know that you are plagiarized. Right from there, they will just know that, no, this person is claiming a lot of scientific statements and there's no citation. So we have to be mindful when we read to be sure that we are actually following the line of academic integrity. Changes of supervisory practices is another thing that could actually make our students to get to, for example, role modeling. Some of you have not read your supervisor's work, especially reading the works of those that are be able to publish. If you want to publish in any journal, the first thing you will do is to download sample copies from that particular journal, maybe 3 or 4. Read them very well. Look at the standard, the way they write. Look at the way they cite. There was a time I submitted a paper to a particular local journal in Nigeria, and I cited like 4 or 5 authors for a statement. And the next thing, the reviewer was saying that, no, one is enough. Why? If only the person has read that particular statement. There are some statements that you cannot actually write without you citing more than one author, because that statement is strong. And you have to indicate the agreement of different scholars on that very statement. You have to use scholars to substantiate the claim you are actually putting down. For example, the very one that I made mention of, that pregnant women cannot contract COVID-19, is a very strong one. And whoever is reading will probably believe me more if I cite like 6 authors. So you will know, okay, this is not just one person that have actually made a mistake in result. We are talking about 6 authors now. Maybe what the person will now do is to go to the journals that are published. Because if there are also reputable journals that have published the work of those 6 authors, then it is taken. After all, the person has not conducted a contrary or gotten a contrary result. So if journals that are reputable have published 6 authors saying that pregnant women cannot contract COVID-19, then it is taken. All right, apprenticeship, okay, like I said earlier, we'll work and in line with what our supervisors have done, and we'll be able to learn from them. Constructive feedback also from the supervisor is very important in order for us to be able to developing the right attitude towards academic integrity. Like I said, it's all about our personality. If we are somebody that is highly principled, it will be very difficult for us to be able to align with academic integrity. After all, nobody is asking you to write everything from your head. It's even not appreciable when you write from your head or maybe from just your distance, because it is expected that you consult. In research, it's expected that the more you consult, the more your work is able to exhume a lot of knowledge. The use of academic integrity software, Turnitin, that our mother talked about. If you're able to see this slide, you'll probably see others aside from Turnitin that we have adopted in this university. Some of these are actually free online. Please, can you actually, so that they can see some of the software that are free, in case you can't access Turnitin as quickly as you wish. Viper is free. A couple of others are free there. So you can easily just use them to check your work to see the level of similarity index. Now, I am actually giving this, please, the next slide now. This as one of the reports given to me from the work I actually wrote. I got 5% there. Now, our mother talked about the fact that you may not have to raise alarm if you have high one. But I want to add that even if you have low one, there could still be cause for alarm. Now, we need to understand how this similarity index works. If I have 5%, my work can still be rejected based on plagiarism. A lot of you will probably get a percentage that is low and you start celebrating. No. Turnitin or a similarity index is more than just giving you a percentage, and that percentage is not supposed to be just a result. It's to just come out with what it has found. Now, what are we supposed to do? If you get 5% like this, you go through your work again to look for where the 5% are actually highlighted, because you want to highlight where the similarities are. So you have to go through your work again to be able to see what has happened and how you arrive at that 5%, as low as it is. Now, if just 2 sentences is responsible for that 5%, which means that they are all highlighted from the very beginning of the sentence to the end, yeah, an editor can still point that fact out and probably even reject your work because you are plagiarized in spite of arriving at 5%. How? because it is showing that the entire sentence is gotten from somewhere. Now, let us imagine that you actually cited the author. It is still an unintentional plagiarism. Why? Because you are supposed to put a quotation mark to say that everything in this sentence belongs to this author, and you put the page number. So there's still a lot involved. So by the time you put the page number, you are now saying that, okay, this entire statement belongs to this very author. If the person that is trying to get your result out wants to do some proper review of what you have done, they can exclude what is actually being taken word for word. That is, they can actually, there's a particular function that will make them to exclude all those verbatim statements so that it is not highlighted. That will have taken that off. The other one is to exclude references. I've seen situations where students are worried about their references, and some of them will start paraphrasing references. You don't do that. Paraphrasing references are actually sources of materials. So it is the way they are written. Even if you feel that there's grammatical error, you can't touch it because it is somebody else's work. Not to talk of you now paraphrasing it because you want to have a lower percentage for your plagiarism check. No, you don't do that. What is meant to be done is for references to be excluded, the same way that quotations will be excluded, so that it is now what you are responsible for that will actually be tested on the plagiarism. So like I said, when you get a result, if you get a 0 result, it is problem. So some of you have been working towards 0. What that means is that you have not consulted any work. You've written everything from your head. It's just like you writing a story. So if you get a 0%, some of you work. In fact, there are some artificial intelligence that make 0% to happen. If they test your work and they get 0%, they will automatically suspect your work as a product of artificial intelligence. That is very straightforward because it is too artificial. Nobody is saying that you shouldn't get percentage. What they are saying is that it shouldn't be too high because the contribution, your own original contribution, should be at a particular percentage. Even the university gives up to 18%. So that is to tell you that it is not the percentage that is the problem, but the way you have written. If you have 18% and it is allowed by the university, still go through to see where all those highlights are and check whether they are properly cited, as in the statement are properly given credit to by whoever. Now, there might even be areas where there is no highlight and you have still stolen somebody's idea because you paraphrase very well, the Turnitin will not see it. But even if the Turnitin has not seen it, if anybody is reading your work, God help you, what about if the person is even the owner of that particular idea and he published it some years back? I have seen cases where some authors will write the journal where they are actually expecting the work to be published in. Maybe they send it to the journal, they will write, and the journal will now write your institutions. You know that you are going to put that as part of your information. So they will now write your institution that somebody have accused you of plagiarizing his or her own work. And of course, the university or whatever institutions will now take it up from there. Sometimes all these lecturers that they said that, or maybe academics that they said that they were accused, do you think that it is actually an Ifa oracle that determined that there was that plagiarism? It is just coincidence that the very person that is responsible for that particular idea will now get to read their work. It could happen anywhere. You might even be in an international conference and the person will just read that aspect and see that this is my work. So all we need to do to make ourselves clean is to be respectful to the works of others and to cite them accordingly as we continue to progress. Now, these are the reasons for us to avoid plagiarism. It will enable us to identify our shortcomings. Nobody expects us to be perfect at this stage, not even at our own stage. We are still learning. So we continue to, I cannot write any paper right now without reading first. So why can't you just take your time to read as well? It is just a simple exercise. And it even gives you more idea about what you want to write. It makes your word richer. So it enables us to identify our shortcomings in academic writing and improve our skills, which is very important. It offers opportunity to engage with ideas and deepen our critical thinking and writing skills. Because the more you are able to write on your own, with your own ideas, following through the right processes, the better you become in writing, the more you develop your writing skills. You cannot be developing the writing skills of others by asking them to write for you. You develop yours. No matter what, if you continue to write, you will only improve. That is the only thing that can happen for you to continue to improve. Citing sources adds authority to what we write. By the time, I just told you about I gave you an example. When we said that pregnant women will not contract it, and you now cite sources, it is bringing authority to that statement. so that that statement can be respected. So if you write it alone, of course, they will probably see you as a joker. But if you write it with those right citations, definitely it brings authority to that statement. No reviewer or editor will actually question it. So when we cite, we're actually adding authority to whatever statement we have made. We will learn to question all ideas. That is to be critical, like our mommy said. Using others' ideas prevents us from questioning or judging ideas. It's just like the Bible or Quran that we are not supposed to judge, because we just have to take whatever they have said. But these are scholarly work. We have to develop critical mind so that it will also develop our own critical thinking. So it's very important for us to do all that. So on that note, I want to end today's lecture on that. Thank you very much for listening.